Yo guys, what is going on? It's GalJ007 here with another episode of D&D style RPG. Last time we came across this horrendous rat, were-rat is what they were calling it now. And we had a couple options. We could burn it, we could impersonate a thug, we can charm it and talk your way in. I have decided to actually burn it. I don't know what it's going to do to us. It doesn't look very friendly, first of all. So, when something doesn't look very friendly, the first thing you want to do is attack it. So we're going to burn it and see what happens. Alright, so we shot some fire. I am here to see Gorgon, you say as you approach the rat. I know, the were-rat snaps. Else be here. Now, who be ye? A friend? Can you let me in? The were-rat puts one furry hand on a key tied to his belt. I will cut your throat if you don't answer me question plainly. I am Colabatas Roba Fortuneas. You say the arcane words as you raise your hands. A fan of flame springs from your fingertips, engulfing both the rat and the heap of trash he is standing in. There is a high-pitched squeak as he falls, rolling to put out the flames of his burning fur. But the trash beneath him must consist of some flammable materials, for it is now on fire too. After a moment of panic, he manages to roll clear through the burning refuse. However, by this time he is completely covered in flames, and it is not long before he stops moving altogether. You approach carefully and give the rat a few stabs with your dagger for good measure. His burnt fur and skin smell dreadful. You cut the key from his belt and run to the door, unlock it, and slip inside. The hallway is lit with candles set on small inlays of the stone walls. You stop and listen. There are raised voices up ahead. You creep along the hallway up to an open doorway. Inside, two men appear to be arguing in a language you do not understand. You can see them clearly thanks to a large fire burning in a fireplace nearby. A naked, bound and gagged man hangs by his long hair from the rafters above. The naked man is swinging back and forth like a pendulum, thanks to each man absently taking turns shoving him as they continue to argue. One of the arguing men fits Mala's description of Gorgon. Half of his bald head is disfigured by a terrible burn. Gorgon is a large man wearing thick leather armor. A battle axe is leaning against the wall near him. The other man is muscular with a square face and a large, jutting chin. Now what, you wonder? Even if that feeling you had earlier was not from being scryed upon, Uxio should be able to find you soon. And then there is that dead were-rat out in the alley. How long before that's noticed? On the other hand, it would be nice if you could find an opportunity to confront Gorgon alone, and it might behoove you to wait. What do you do? Alright, so we know what the were-rat looks like, which, honestly, as a mage, I would probably try to impersonate the were-rat. We only have 4 mana, so we don't want to blast them. Plus, maybe with the fire, the copper ring will get damaged. So I'm going to impersonate the were-rat just because we've seen it, and I think it will be the right option. Let me know in the comments what you guys think you would have done. Having seen the were-rat up close, you are capable of creating an illusion of him. First, you back up down the hall to leave enough room to make sure they don't hear you as you make your incantations. Once finished, you do your best to mimic the were-rat's scurrying walk as you enter the room. The men look over at you. Snivel? What do you want? Demands Gorgon in the common tongue. You do not expect that you can mimic the were-rat's speech, so in response you tilt your snout towards the way you came, gesturing for Gorgon to follow you. You then walk out. Gorgon says something in a language you don't understand, and then you hear his boots clumping up behind you. Answer me, rat, he barks. The two of you are far down the hall now, and there's no sign of the other man, although Gorgon is carrying his battle axe. The illusion is beginning to flicker a little, and will not last much longer. You walk over next to him and point down the hall. He looks to where you're pointing. Now is the time to strike. What do you do? Oh, man. So our last 2 mana or with a dagger. I don't think the dagger will do a lot. We're not fighters, guys, right? So we're gonna have to firebolt him and use the last 2 bit of mana. So, oh no! As Gorgon peers down the hall, trying to see what you were pointing at, you pelt him in the head with a firebolt. He roars in fury as he swings his battle axe, but he is blind from the flames that have engulfed his head, and you jump out of range. He then drops his weapon and starts batting at his head and facing vain attempts to extinguish the flames. You finish him off with a few stabs from your dagger. There's a noise, and you look up to see the man Gorgon had been arguing with earlier at the other end of the hallway. He smiles at you and then runs off in the other direction. Without a moment to lose, you search Gorgon's hand for his warding copper ring, find it, and put it on. Next, you cut the rope, double knot it to the naked man's long hair, and he falls to the floor. Suddenly, you hear a loud bang followed by the rush of boots from somewhere in the house. You run to a door you're supposed to square jaw. You run to a door you suppose the square-jawed man had run through, but the door is now locked. You are trapped. Into the room stream several city guards, 3 with swords drawn and 2 more with crossbows at the ready. You hear more coming, and you know that you are hopelessly outnumbered. You drop your dagger and surrender. The guards waste no time. They throw you on the ground, search your body, and bind your hands behind your back. He's a murder sorcerer. You had best gag him. One of the guards says. Why take a chance, says another, and he hits you in the head with the hilt of his sword. Oh no. That's not a good outcome. You wake on the cold stone floor of a cell. A balled up rag has been shoved into your mouth, and another strip is tied tightly around your head to keep the rag in place. Your hands have been tied behind your back and your legs bound together. After struggling in vain, you decide to make the best of a terrible situation and roll over to a pile of straw strewn over the far end of the cell. The straw smells of urine, but at least it's softer and warmer than lying on the stone. With nothing else to do, you go back to sleep. Wow, guys, was that the wrong decision? Oh no, like we're like in such a bad place. Like I wonder if I would have chosen the dagger, would it have been the same outcome? And this is why there's so much replay value on this game, because you don't know what happens on the other end. But yeah, so unfortunately, it looks like we lost life. Not sure why. I guess he hit me or something. But we have no mana, but our morale increased. So hey, there's a silver lining, right? Well, let's continue. Oh, I rested. That's right, I get mana. I life. You're awakened at some point in the night by muffled, final shouts from somewhere in the dungeon. This is followed by gurgling, and then suddenly nothing. What? What has gone on? You hear someone call in a trembling voice, presumably from another cell. There is no answer. It is beginning to rain. Drops of water come through the bars that overlook the street. There are wooden shutters on the inside to block the rain, but bound as you are, you cannot get up to shut them. An apple core lies on the floor nearby. Someone must have thrown it in through the bars earlier while you slept. Your stomach growls, but you leave the cost of food. Eventually, you curl up in a straw and go back to sleep. When you next wake, sunshine is streaming through your barred window. Despite your disturbed and uncomfortable sleep, you feel somewhat refreshed. Now that you can see clearly, you look yourself over. You have been stripped down to your tunic and trousers. Your spellbook and gold is gone, as is the ring you took from Gorgon. No! Gorgon's charms won't help me now anyways. A seer is no longer required to find me, you reflect bitterly. Your self-pity is interrupted by the sound of footfalls. For a moment you fear your time is up, but when the cell door opens, it is not the executioner you see, but a beautiful woman. Finally, the god smiles upon me. The woman has long blonde hair that frames large blue eyes and a delicate nose, and a scar that runs from her jaw down to her neck. The scar is faint and only noticeable because her skin is otherwise flawless. When you can finally pull your eyes from her face, you see that she is wearing armor and a gold-colored cape that is customarily worn by clerics of Alathea, the goddess of protection. Such clerics are holy warriors skilled with armor and weapons. In addition, they can appeal to their patron goddess for modest gifts of divine aid, similar in some ways to your own magical spells. A guard stands behind her and appears to be staring at her rear. As though aware of his gaze, she turns her head slightly and says, "Leave us, please." The guard frowns. "There lies a wizard, my lady. He may strike using no more than a thought." "Doubtful," she answers, nodding to him. The guard stands for a moment, bows, and then leaves. The cleric fixes her eyes on you. You try to smile unsuccessfully through the rag stuffed in your mouth. She chants a long prayer, all the while staring down at you as though weighing your soul. Upon finishing, she says, "I am Nerissa, a second disciple of Alathea. I shall undo your gag now. You will behave?" You nod vigorously. With the gag finally out of your mouth, you breathe easier and thank her. "Can you stand?" she asks. "I hope so," you say. "I agreed to not unbind you, but I would rather speak to a man on his feet," she says. With that, she pulls you up, and soon you are standing, leaning against the wall. "Your name is Inuxius?" she asks. You nod. "Although many call me Ghost." "Ghost?" she repeats, thoughtfully. Just then, a whisper pushes down the hall. It sounds like a rapid string of words, but none that you recognize. Nerissa clutches her mace and looks about searching. "Oh, I like her armor." The whisper dies as quickly as it arose. The two of you stand motionless, listening. Finally, you say, "Speaking of ghosts," you try to smile, but you're pretty sure it's a grimace. Nerissa watches you carefully for a long moment and then says, "I am not sure you appreciate the gravity of the crimes you are being accused of." She is wrong about that. Having grown up in Ring City, you know very well what happens to those accused of murder, a gruesome public execution. You can appeal to her sense of empathy by asking for her help, or you can appeal to her sense of justice by denouncing how you have been treated. Which tactic do you prefer? All right, guys, what a crazy episode. I cannot believe we got caught. I was really hoping to escape and try to get our possessions and try to clear our name, but that's not how it went. I do appreciate you guys as always. I'm going to leave. I'm going to stop the video right here, right now. I'm going to think about what we're going to do. And then I'll come back with another video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you guys do the YouTube things as always. Thank you very much for your support, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.